Welcome back. Here with us on Urban Debate on Mirror Now, I'm Heena Gambhir. One of the greatest off-spinners in the history of the game, veteran cricketer Harbhajan Singh has called time on what has been an illustrious cricket career across all formats. Former Indian spinner announced his retirement from all forms of competitive cricket today. Nicknamed the Turbanator, Harbhajan was earlier in speculation about bidding farewell to professional cricket as a player after the conclusion of the IPL 2021. That didn't happen then, and it happened today. Harbhajan has decided to call time on an iconic career after scalping 711 wickets in the international arena. And joining us on the broadcast right now are my colleagues who cover the area of sports very, very closely. We have Karishma as well as Aruneel joining us live this evening. Karishma, to you first. Did it come as a surprise, or was there a speculation, especially after the picture with Sidhu went viral?
Well, it's absolutely, Hina. There was speculation for a long, long time on Harbhajan Singh's career. But like Harbhajan Singh today, in his emotional message that he posted for all his well-wishers, said that because he had commitments with Kolkata Knight Riders and IPL, he could not, make the decision official. But now he's done with all his commitments, and his 23-year-long career has come to an end. And whether, what comes of it, whether that picture with Sidhu, which was loaded with possibilities, is going to be a new chapter in his life, that he will be joining politics, or whether he wants to give back to the game that has given him so much in a coaching setup in the Indian team, or in an IPL setup or domestic cricket setup, is what we are going to look at and wait for to see what happens next. But yes, very interestingly, Hina, politics and cricket are the two options that are going to be the reasons why Harbhajan Singh is going to decide what he wants to do next. So very interesting times ahead for Harbhajan Singh and for all his fans. Maybe the cricketer is going to turn a politician, or maybe the cricketer is going to give back to the game that gave him everything in his life, Hina.
All right, Karishma, thank you for joining us with that update. Let's also listen into what exactly Harbhajan Singh had to say after he made this announcement.
एक मुकाम आता है जब लाइफ में आपको कुछ कठिन फैसले लेने होते हैं और ज़िंदगी में आगे बढ़ना होता है। मैं पिछले कुछ साल से एक अनाउंसमेंट करना चाह रहा था, और उस चीज़ का मैं इंतज़ार कर रहा था कि मैं आप सबके साथ उस मोमेंट को कब शेयर करूं। मैं आज क्रिकेट के हर फॉर्मेट से रिटायरमेंट ले रहा हूं। हालांकि ज़हनी तौर पे मैं रिटायरमेंट पहले ही ले चुका था, लेकिन अनाउंस नहीं कर पाया।
Let's now go across to my colleague Aruneel as well. Charu Sharma, sports commentator, joining us on the broadcast too this evening. Good evening, Charu. Aruneel, now, did you manage to speak with him? What next? Because all eyes are now going to be on his next innings, and we've already got an idea.
Well, that is right, Heena. In fact, Harbhajan Singh, the Turbanator, has been known as somebody on the field who has played the game in a very aggressive manner, somebody who has never minced his words as well, always been a very hard competitor. And now with this picture with Navjot Sidhu, whether he will be inclined to joining politics, or whether before the IPL, two more teams have been added in the IPL, so it will be a 10-team IPL now. So whether he has garnered any contract with any of the new IPL teams or any of the existing IPL teams. He had played for Mumbai Indians, he had played for CSK as well. But today is the day that we should celebrate Harbhajan Singh's career. Mainly the highest point in his career, Heena, was in 2001 when Australia, the world-beating Australian team, which was unbeaten, which was on a winning streak, was making a world record of 16 consecutive test wins. That had come on Indian soil. They won in Mumbai, but Harbhajan Singh's bowling, and obviously you have to remember VVS Lakshman and Rahul Dravid's partnership as well, but it was mainly Harbhajan Singh's bowling that stopped the juggernaut of that Steve Waugh-led Australian side. And then the kind of impact that Harbhajan Singh has made, yes, the 2000 basically the 2007 T20 World Cup is also one of the high points of Harbhajan Singh's career, but his main impact has been in the Test cricket against the strong Aussie side, which has been struggling, which has always been found struggling or wanting against the off spin and the jump ball that Harbhajan Singh used to bowl on Indian pitches. So yes, it is time to celebrate a career which basically gave a lot to Indian cricket, which motivated youngsters to imitate him. That's why we have other off spinners following in his footsteps. In fact, Ravichandran Ashwin, the premier off spinner at present, has been repeatedly saying the kind of impact that Harbhajan Singh had on his career. So this is the time to celebrate his career. And yes, we will be waiting with bated breath at what his next move will be, whether he will be joining politics or whether he has got some contract with an IPL team as a mentor, a coach, or what exactly he decides.
Okay, but something clearly is coming, and that's the reason why this big announcement was made today. We all are going to be looking forward to that. Thank you, Aruneel, for joining us with that perspective. Let's now go across to Charu Sharma as well, sports commentator. Charu, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Mirror Now. The Turbanator will not be the tormentor for batsmen anymore. Of course, there's lots lined up for him ahead as well. But I want to talk to you specifically about him as a cricketer. 3 achievements that you can list for our viewers.
Oh gosh, you're asking for a top 3 for a man who's got a top 30 at least, if not more. I think a lot has already been said by Aruneel, so I mean, I don't want to duck this question. Of course, the 2001 series was magnificent. There have also been unseemly controversies, unfortunately, in his career, which he's had to face. Not just the, if I may use the term, monkey gate back in Australia, which were threatened to be blown up into a really major global problem. But luckily, Sachin backed him, his very good friend, and he got out of that. But also the fact that, there was suspicion on his action, which no player likes. I mean, it really dents your confidence. And for him to then somehow get through all of that, perhaps he wasn't the same bowler when he came out of that, but I mean, he was a very game trier. His primary attitude, should we say, or characteristic, and many, of course, bowlers have that, is that he preyed on success. Now, if he wasn't getting success, you might see that he had this, on his face, you could almost feel the pressure and the problems. The minute he created a breakthrough, he could run through. So he was a confidence bowler, if I can say that. Obviously, one of the finest off spinners in India, but off spinning is a very difficult art. And the period that he was going through, I think because of Sir Glenn and a few others, the Dusra became very much in vogue. And if you didn't have the Dusra, you weren't considered a great offie. So that was a bit of a problem that he went through. But I think his career carried on quite a while. He was also a mercurial batsman. Every once in a while, he'd come up with a fabulous cameo towards the end and win you a match. But perhaps he did realize that, fitness is a big problem. And if he's not going to get a regular place in any team, might as well then sit out and say, okay, that's it, end my career. And for sure, as was said earlier, he will be absorbed in an IPL team 100%, perhaps Mumbai. We'll see him back there.
Okay, now he was also a part of that aggressive Indian team which had a captain like Sourav Ganguly. So, in this day and age, what is it that, the players can learn from somebody like Harbhajan Singh?
Well, I think you mentioned a very important word in the whole world of sport, because whether you show it or not, internally, there has to be an enormous amount of aggression if you want to play any physical sport. Cricket's not quite a contact sport, but of course you have to, and his show of aggression was as much as anybody else. Yes, he fitted very well there, and I'm sure that he would have fitted very well with the Kohli regime had his career been a few years later. But, that's not all. I think he did mature like many other players, and towards the end of his career, I'm sure you would have seen that he was far calmer, as most aggressive players tend to be. But there's no doubt that if you have innate aggression, chances are you'll do pretty well at sport because of it being extremely competitive. It's just that, and especially for aggressive sports persons, sometimes the lines become a little blurred of how much and when to stop. And I suppose, as you know, that because of his slightly checkered career, he too perhaps crossed that line once in a while. And it required a captain or leadership to then rein him in and say, well, this much, this far, no further. But yes, without doubt, he was one of the more, and you have to be, as a spinner particularly, or even the fast bowlers, they say is very aggressive. Some people are very calm, but there's no harm in showing that aggression internally or long. It's just, for me, a fine line is you don't show it to the opposition, really, because, I mean, that just, there are fine lines there, and every once in a while, sadly, aggressive sports persons cross those lines and enter an arena where there's lots of controversy, and their career gets blemished for no reason. Just have to curb that instinct at the right time. At the last sort of, the last point of aggression is a loose line.
Now the buzz clearly is that Bhaji the cricketer may turn Bhaji the Neta. Do you think this mercurial Turbanator can actually take easily to politics?
Oh, that's a very different arena. And yes, we just heard from Sherry, Navjot, and he's, well, I suppose you can call his political career checkered as well. It's a very difficult and different arena. I don't know who's mentoring him. I suspect that for the next 4 or 5 years at least, he might want to stay with the game rather than shift completely into politics. And because the game, perhaps, Mumbai or other teams or T20 teams may still need him. There's only about 2 months, 2.5 months of that. Now, if he does 1 or 2 seasons not playing, but perhaps mentoring or coaching a team, then he may make a call, because a lot of cricketers don't really enjoy mentoring or coaching. It's not the same thing, because you can't have such a major influence on the game as much as you can when you're a player. And so if it doesn't suit you, and if he's not being able to contribute or people are not listening to him enough, then you're right. I mean, Punjab seems to be, or his home territory seems to be, ready for all sorts of experimentation, and he may fit right in.
Okay, and lastly, before we let you go, 565 times he's been in the field, be it for Test, ODI, T20 or the first class games. How will you like to talk about Harbhajan tonight as a person?
Well, I think for very long, not only was he one of the leading wicket takers for India, he was there in every form of the game. He was a match winner, but also from all the reports, I, of course, was not in the dressing room. He was also the life of the dressing room. You need that kind of a cricketer to lighten the atmosphere, a bit of a practical joker. He was quite happy to go to the entertainment world. He even married a lady from there. So an all-round personality who was very happy to, I was about to use a phrase which may not be, well, who was happy to be a part of all circumstances. So he let his personality through every stage. I mean, he wasn't a shy, reluctant, shrinking violet. He was very much out there. He said, bring it on, whatever it is. Cricket, great. Entertainment, great. Dancing, fine. Whatever it is. Social media, I'm good with it. So, sometimes players like Harbhajan, therefore, are far more influential for youngsters coming up, because they are happy to share everything about their life with everybody around them. So, yeah, I'd like to say an all-round entertainer.
Okay, and I said that was going to be my last question, but one more if you allow me.
Sure.
In cricket, a spinner bowls a googly, but in politics, one faces them. So if indeed the rumors are true, what's going to be your message to him?
I say Harbhajan, spinners particularly seem to spot googlies a lot better than batsmen or others. So, if you want to get into politics, you can spot the googly a lot earlier, go for it. But at least keep your eyes open, very sharp for the googly. But you're right. I mean, politics is a very, very difficult, different field. And if he can spot the googly, he'll do very well there.
Thank you very much, Charu, for speaking with us here on Mirror Now. We, of course, wish him all the best for his next innings.
All the best, Harbhajan. Bhaji,
Let's now
you're
move
a big
on.
hero, big role model. Go for it.